The thrill never stops at Empire City Casino. From over 4,000 slots to the non-stop action of electronic table games, there's no shortage of ways to win big. Indulge in crave-worthy flavors at our amazing restaurants. Go all in on live entertainment. Spin your way into winning cash, free play, getaways, and even a brand new car. Every month is your chance to win. All powered by MGM Rewards. Ride the thrill. Only at Empire City Casino. Must be 18 years of age or older to play New York Lottery games. Please play responsibly. Must be 21 to join MGM Rewards.
Hi, I'm Mike Pesca, host of The Gist, and I'm the kind of person, maybe you are too, who likes to step outside the easy reinforcement of my own ideas. Maybe you actually like to have your beliefs tested and your perspectives expanded. I find that exciting, not unsettling. There are a lot of shows, ideologically driven shows and networks whose audiences say, thank you for telling me I'm not crazy. But I don't really doubt my own sanity. I don't need affirmation and reassurance that my side or one side of the political or social debate is right. I'm more worried about being misinformed by lazily going along with the untested assumption or narrative. The Gist is for people who know that being interesting starts with being interested. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
We have Jody Underwood in studio. Thank you for coming in. I certainly do appreciate it. It's been about a year or so. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
You had reached out. You have a big fair coming up for education. And education is really something that is really, it has seemed, as I've been kind of a passive observer, a passion of yours and something from your time of Croydon, and now you're kind of going statewide. So what got you into really zoning in on education funding, open education, things like that?
Yeah, and I think being on the Croydon School Board really started that for me, because when I started, we were working towards getting town tuitioning and leaving our area agreement with Newport.
Right.
And and then with town tuitioning, it was like, what schools should we send them to? And it's really up to the school board to figure it out. And we decided as a school board that we wanted to allow any option the parents wanted. Mm-hmm. And so when we submitted our withdrawal plan to the state, we just asked parents what they wanted. And they wanted Keene and Concord and religious schools and private schools and just everything. So we put it on our list for things we wanted. And the state said, well, you can't do religious schools, but everything else is good. So we're like, okay, private schools are good. So we did, and then the state challenged us on it. And this got my ire up. It's like, wait, you said we could do it. And we went to court. We lost in court.
Okay.
And that, I mean, honestly, the argument against us doing it was really loose. Really, I mean, if you saw the transcript of the court case, it was like, how did the judge make that decision? So I shepherded a bill through the state legislature to allow private schools, because Maine and Vermont both still have private schools that their tuitioning plan works for. And in New Hampshire, it stopped in like the 1950s, where it started. Right. See, nobody knows this stuff. I did all the research about it.
Did.
And it was like, so why are they doing it? Why did we stop doing it? Mm-hmm. What's more, I mean, I say we stopped, but there were two schools that remained. And they called them public-private schools, but they're...
So like Pinkerton?
Yes, exactly. Okay. Pinkerton and Co-Brown. Those are the two.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Isn't Dairyfield one too, I heard?
I think that's just private.
That's just private.
I think so.
Okay.
And basically what those two private schools ended up, I don't know if it started this way or not, but the regulations got more and more stringent on them, so that they had to follow the state standards. They had to follow more things for the state. They have to test their kids using the state test. They're basically a public school without an elected school board. Fascinating, right?
So that's how Pinkerton operates.
Correct. And Co-Brown. Yeah.
And Co-Brown. So like in Vermont, you got like Lindenville or whatever.
It's St. Johnsbury.
St. J. Yeah.
Yep. You got Thetford Academy.
Okay, so that's an example of a private school that the public can attend.
Correct.
Okay.
With no tuition. Yeah.
Now, in like Plainfield, can those kids go to, not Proctor? Oh my goodness, what's the
KUA?
KUA. Do they have the ability to go to KUA?
Not so. In Croydon, you can, because it's just a private school. So we'll pay up to the, a cap that we determine based on this anchor school tuition. But you asked about Plainfield. So they have town tuitioning, right? I know Cornish does. Cornish is tuitioning, but they have not decided to use private schools.
Okay.
So Plainfield might have done the same thing, and until they decide to use private schools, allow parents to choose private schools, then no, they can't go to KUA. They have a different agreement with KUA, though, having to do with property taxes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's sort of under the table. You'll hear Plainfield families tell you, oh yeah, we definitely get a discount, and you talk to KUA, they're like, nope, no discount at all.
Okay.
So
is this the third rail in the conversation?
I think
you never
so.
Touched? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't affect me, so I didn't dig too deep on it, but there was some conflicting information about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Croydon went through, and basically now, if you live in Croydon, and you're not representing Croydon right now, you're not a school board member. You had been previously, but this is kind of your background to lead to where we're at now. Croydon went through this where the Montessori was now okay, but Mount Royal wasn't?
Correct. Back then. That's right. At the beginning. But then there was a federal Supreme Court decision, U.S. Supreme Court, that said and it was for the state of Montana. They raised something having to do with this. They said if you're paying for private schools, if tax dollars are being used for private schools, then it would be discriminatory to not use them for religious schools. And at that point, Croydon started including Mount Royal, and if you wanted to go to religious school. So that's been the case for quite a few years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, under that pretense, not that there is, but if there was a satanic school, you could send your kids to the Church of Satan school.
If you're choosing it, the government should not be.
And taxpayers can pay for that.
That's right. I mean, the government.
Completely cool.
If you look at it from this perspective, the government isn't telling you to go to that religious school. Right. It is allowing families to choose the religious school they want.
Okay.
So from that perspective, you might say, well, I don't want them to go to Muslim schools, right?
Right.
So no, the government does not get to tell you which religious schools to go to. From that perspective, I think it's perfectly kosher from a constitutional perspective.
It's the freedom of religion aspect.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So now Croydon has that aspect. A lot of towns don't. So I live in Goshen. We have school choice, but it's not true school choice. It's school choice based on what the school board will allocate.
Correct.
So
that's true for Croydon too. They could remove schools from the list if they wanted. They just decided to allow parents to go to any school. There's one caveat, and that is for any private school, it has to be approved by the state to be a school. So you couldn't tuition a kid to a micro school, for example.
What's a micro school?
Great question. That might segue us into this other thing. Micro schools started in around 2015, and it's basically, I mean, I don't like that they're called schools because it's a little misleading. They're also called learning centers, learning clubs in different places. It's basically either a teacher or a parent or two decide to get together and teach somewhere between 8 and 10 kids individually. They get individual progress. Like, it's not a single curriculum that you follow. They find things that suit the kids.
Okay.
And I mean, so that they've popped up all over the place. There are some big like national organizations that do it. Now I have to remember the names.
So it's almost kind of like a bigger homeschool, right?
It is. And you have to officially homeschool your kids in order to be able to send your kids to such a school. Micro Studios in Newport was such a micro school.
Is that the one that was at the church?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was here for 2 years, and then they just had different personal issues, honestly.
Okay.
It was, I don't even think it was a monetary thing in the end, although they were having a hard time making ends meet too.
I can imagine.
But yeah, all the kids were officially homeschooled who went there. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved? What was the thing that sparked you? Has education been something that you've cared about a lot? Always,
yes.
Okay.
My mother was a teacher. I grew up in New York City. She was a New York City school teacher, and so I sort of grew up with that, in my head. And then in grad school, I realized that what I wanted to do, I studied computer science and in grad school focused on artificial intelligence, but long before the current idea of AI. Yeah. And what the state of the art was then was in what they call intelligent tutoring systems. And that's what I worked on. I wanted to create a digital environment really, I was open to any environment, but digital would be really cool to help a kid move at his own pace where he's ready. And there was a lot of good work going on back then. But again, and today, I don't know what they've done with the current version of AI. So I did that for a long time. And then I got a PhD in learning sciences. I did some work in inner city schools in Nashville, which is where I did my postdoc. So working with just the kids and just seeing how things worked in an inner city, not so different from rural, honestly, just, whatever, very, very interesting stuff. But I've always done the digital thing. And so after that, I ended up pretty much working online, creating digital learning environments, digital assessment environments for my entire career. And then a couple of years ago, I retired because I actually wasn't, I liked what I did, but I didn't love it. It wasn't getting me up in the morning.
Sure.
So I retired, and 6 months later, this idea sort of popped up. It's like, so we have a really bad record of reading levels, achievement levels, right, in the state, and it's in the whole country for reading and for math. Like fewer than 50% of the kids are performing either at a proficient level.
Really?
And that means like at grade level. So grades 3 to 8, we test them, and then 11. The scores across the country are bad. Now you'll hear people talk about New Hampshire's like in the top 10 or number 2, but I have to tell you, the tests that they're using, they're not showing you the full scale. They tell you, yeah, we're number 2, we're in the top 10, and that's sort of gone up and down over the years, but nobody's hitting the passing score. Massachusetts has been number 1 for the most part since like 1990 when they started doing it at a state level. This is a national test that gets given everywhere. Nobody knows about it. It's called NAEP, the National Assessment for Educational Progress. But nobody is hitting that proficient level. They're all below what we'd call a passing score.
Okay.
So even though we're number 2, we're like least worst. We're not best. That's how I like to think about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, in New Hampshire, we know some of the scores. And honestly, like Newport and Claremont are 2 of the lowest scoring schools in the state.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And it's like, so what's going on here? So public schools work for some kids. Great, for whatever reasons, and nobody really knows the reasons. Probably has to do with parents who read to them, parents who care about like an academic education. And not all parents care about that, right? And back in the day, and 100 years ago, kids worked on their farms.
Yes. Yes.
And small schools, like your neighborhood schools, are really just there to teach you to read and do math. That's it. But it grew.
And I will add, my opinion is that the way education was previously is that you learned reading based on what you needed for life, math based on life. So, for instance, I give is one of my favorite possessions that I have. It's a math book that's been passed down in my family from 1826.
Wow.
And the math is incredibly hard because it's all farmer math. Mm-hmm. So somebody has so many pecks of something and walked hectares, and it was all, the horse is this hands high. But I don't know these things. I don't work in hectares anymore. I don't measure in hands, but they did back in the 1800s. And so the kids had to learn effective math based on farming.
And it also gave him some critical thinking skills.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Right. So you're learning math skills that you're going to need when you're harvesting your crops or when you're selling your horse or when you're...
Or seeding or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Yeah. We got this many acres of land.
Even
how much seed
selling,
do you need?
Right? If you're selling your meat, what's the hanging weight? What's the, and how the percentages.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was so eye-opening to me because, the math that we know now is all theological and, X times Y equals Z and things like that. But is there tangible... Do you actually utilize this?
Right. And some people do, but most don't. Engineers will.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so if you're going down an engineering path, you got to know that stuff.
Right.
But is algebra really critical for everybody? I wouldn't think so. I think statistics is more important.
Yeah.
So that nobody will lie to you, right? Like you hear these things, you see charts, and people don't know how to read them.
Right.
You just have to believe what somebody's telling you it says. And I always look at charts and statistics critically because I understand them, you know?
Numbers don't lie, but you can manipulate them to prove your point.
That's right. That's really right. And reading was people read the Bible.
Yeah.
We had, I mean, the numbers that I've seen is like 98% of the population in the United States was literate because they read the Bible. We have nothing like that today.
No.
Adults are reading at like a 6th grade level on average. And wow, I mean, how can you read something and at that level and critically understand it? That's hard. So we're believing, well, who? Our politicians? Because that's what they tell us, or these, podcasts, or, people like you get on the radio, right? And you tell them what you think. That's good.
But I'm not writing it out.
Right. Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah.
No, but it's still the critical thinking part.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. I had a kid reach out to me recently wanting to intern, and reading his email to me, I just knew it was AI.
Oh, a lot of people are doing that now.
And I wrote the kid back because it was a well-written message. And right when I saw that, I'm like, this isn't his words. And I wrote him back. I'm like, are you using AI? And he's like, I use it to formulate my ideas, but these are my ideas. But even that was well written. And I'm like, if this is going to work, you need to stop using AI and you need to talk to me as a real person.
Nice.
And I have not heard back from him.
Oh, wow. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, he's a high school senior, I think.
Wow.
But that's the technology, but there's no critical thinking. It's, I have an idea and let's let the computer do it for me.
Right. Honestly, I like using AI for things, but that's my first draft, and it is based on my ideas, and then I rip it apart and change it.
Right.
You know? Yeah. I mean, and they don't even get everything right. I fact check everything it gives me.
Yes.
Because I look at things like, I know that's wrong.
Yeah.
What else is going to be wrong?
Right.
Yeah.
But they're believing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And you live in this world. This was your studies. Your work.
Was. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But that just goes to show, like, why, to play the contrapositive here, why do I even need to learn English when this computer will do it for me?
Yes. So I met a woman who I just randomly met her in a bank, and she was telling me that her kid, I talk about education everywhere apparently, she's like, her kid was in Unity school and a 7th grader, and he can't read. And I was like, I mean, how is that possible? It's like, I mean, you need to get your kid out of school. This also segues into the education options stuff. And she's like, yeah, I mean, she says, I can't. And I've talked to the principal and I've talked to the superintendent, and what one of them at least told her was, oh, don't worry about it. He can just use text to speech.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what the administration told this mother.
Right.
I just find it fascinating. And then she was somebody else who didn't know what a micro school was. I was like, maybe you can take them out. She needed her full-time job, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
And she looked into Micro Studios back then. It wasn't a good fit for her kid, but she had no idea about this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and this is something that you're passionate about, is that there's other options out there that are completely legal or that can be paid for, but a lot of families don't know.
They just don't know.
With the conversations and situation in Claremont that's been going on, which is really a community in upheaval at this point, there are families that are questioning, what do I want to do with my children?
Yes.
And so you guys, what is your group that you're with? Because it's not just you.
It is not just me. So we have a nonprofit, a 501c3 called Education Options, or EdOpt. And this is our mission, is to educate families around New Hampshire about what all their options are so they make good decisions for their families, right? And it's more than just their kids, but it's the whole family thing, right? Yeah. We had another family contact us through an email, basically said, I have one kid in second grade who's bored, and I have another kid in fourth grade, and this is in Mascoma School District. I only learned that later, though. Fourth grade who's falling behind. I can't homeschool. I live in the middle of nowhere. What can I do? So we had a phone call, and turns out she lives in Canaan, and I was like, all right, you're not in the middle of nowhere. There's a very robust homeschool community in this area, and she had no idea that that even existed. So to her, homeschooling meant she had to sit down and teach her kids every day and treat it like school.
Right.
And so they don't even know what homeschooling is about, let alone that there's support. I said, you could also do something like a homeschool co-op. And she's like, what's that? This sounds fascinating. It's like, well, you get together with a few families. You go on field trips, you go to museums, you hire teachers together. And she's like, we're allowed to do that? Allowed.
Yeah.
I mean, she just had no idea. She's like, sign me up. Where can I do this? And I sent her to the Upper Valley Homeschool Group on Facebook. She said, anybody interested in doing this for families within 2 hours? We're like, I live right down the road from you. Yeah, let's get together. So
that's cool.
This is what we decided. It's like there's so many families whose kids don't fit in the single approach that public schools do. And they have other options that, I mean, they might need to be a little creative to figure it out, but this is their kids. This is like the most important thing that they're doing is raising kids, right?
So homeschooling, I think the concept that most think of is, all right, I'm pulling my kids out, and now we're waking up, and from 8 until 3, we're sitting at the kitchen table, and you're doing your reading, your writing, your arithmetic. We're going to go over science. You're going to have lunch. I'm going to send you outside for recess because I need a break. And then at 3 o'clock, you're done.
Yes, and that's not the reality at all.
What is the reality of homeschooling?
The reality is every family figures it out for themselves.
Okay.
And most recommend not trying to replace school at home, which is what you just described. And most have found out that in 2 to 3 hours a day maximum, the kids can get through enough material, reading, math, writing, whatever, that they're at least keeping up with what's going on in school, if not surpassing them. Yeah. And then they can play the rest of the day, and there's nothing wrong with kids playing. They learn so much from playing. You can't underestimate the value of play, especially at the younger ages. Oh my God! I mean, I have so many soapboxes here. I see kids. I volunteered to help teach reading in a local village school, and there was this one kid who was in second grade who just could not sit still and had no interest in reading. He could decode a bit, and he knew his letters and stuff, but really, honestly, if the family could handle it, they should have waited to put him in school until he showed his readiness to learn to read, because then everything else would be a breeze. This way, he just didn't want to be there. Now, of course, there's mandatory schooling laws, right, that say you have to be in school at the age of 6 if you turn 6 by September, I think it is, end of September. I'd like to loosen that, honestly, to change the law to make it so you're ready to read when you go into elementary school. Okay. It just seems very practical to me. Then you won't get, I also worry that kids like that are going to hate reading as they get older because they've been forced to do it. Right. Rather than, so like Waldorf schools, it's a private school and they have a certain method. They don't allow technology, for example. It's very nature-based. And they don't force you to learn to read.
Really?
So I have a friend whose kid went there. And in fact, the kid became a friend. She's an adult now, but she didn't show interest in reading until she was 9. But then when she showed interest, it took her a couple of weeks. And then she started reading Harry Potter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. Not,
Dick and Jane.
Dick and Jane. Exactly. She didn't have to go through that because she was completely ready to learn to read. Huh. So and people don't trust it because they're so used to how schools do it. Right. Nope, by 6 you need to be reading, And some kids learn at 3. Great. Encourage that, foster it. But even if you have one kid who is ready at 3, you might have another who's ready at 8.
Sure.
Like all kids are different.
Look, I make no qualms about it. I hate reading. I hate it. I don't read. I don't like reading. I don't read the newspaper. I don't read magazines. I don't read books.
Wow. Do you know why?
I've never liked reading. I would read comic books as a kid. Batman, Superman, Spider-Man.
That's reading.
So that was like the only reading I would ever do. And then in my adult life, I would read books I guess I wasn't interested. The only books I would read would be like comedian books, like Carol Burnett, Steve Martin, stuff like that, because I find that stuff interesting. Other than that, I don't care. So I don't do it. If people like listeners will send me an article to read, I'm like, nope.
You could use text to speech.
I don't even want to do that. I think I don't have the patience for it. So what I've been doing now using AI is I will copy the text, put it in the Grok, and say consolidate this for me.
Sure, summarize it, and they're great at that.
Yeah, it gives me like a 30-second thing I have to read. I'm like, great. Now I know that's all I need. Next. But so I'm probably that kid that
could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was the math kid. So I was into math at that age.
So you excelled in that area.
Yes.
So that helped, right?
Yeah. But ironically, I'm a good writer.
Oh.
I just hate reading.
That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I wouldn't have guessed that was possible, right?
Yeah. No, I can write. I'm the one that, like on the Chamber of Commerce or whatever, if we need a press release or need to write up something, I'm like, okay, I'll write that.
Wow.
So I can form words very well. I just don't want to read them.
Very interesting. And maybe you have some ocular problem,
Probably.
right?
It could be.
But who knows? Wow, so interesting.
Yeah, but everybody's different.
Yeah.
So like when you're talking about kids not wanting to read, I'm thinking like, okay, that was me.
So
at that
interesting,
age.
Yeah. And maybe if you'd waited a little while until you were shown that you were ready.
I'm gonna be 48 in a couple months. I'm still not ready.
No, because you were trained not to be.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But everybody's different. Like we all learn different. And I know like there's generations that might be listening now that grew up with the ruler to the knuckles and everybody sit still and sit down and be quiet and don't speak. And we're going to work on learning how to do a cursive U. But like that has definitely changed.
That has definitely changed. And we were just talking that before, right? Mm-hmm. About Sunapee schools.
Right.
How they're very strict about their rules.
Yes.
And there's something to be said for that level of strictness. Maybe you get better performance out of kids when you show them that you're raising the bar. You're like, nope, we're very serious. If you want to do this, you have to do that, or whatever. You got to be on time. You got to, yeah.
So of education options, if I live in a town that has a school, so let's use a town that's not around here, Franklin.
Okay.
Franklin's got a high school, they got grade school, but I don't want to send my kids to the Franklin schools.
Right.
What are the options? How does that work?
Yep. So charter schools is an easy option. So you basically, it's paid for completely paid for by the state per kid.
Okay.
And so there's no tuition that the family has to pay. So it's another free option in that perspective. But let's not forget, when I say free, I mean it is taxpayer money. So
right. But who's taxpayer? Is that the town tax?
No.
My school tax or the state tax?
It's
okay.
All they get. It's the state education trust fund.
Okay.
That and they get money through the lottery, through I don't have that information at the top of my head, but it's pretty easy to find if you ask Grok.
And what is a charter school?
So a charter school, basically, there are RSAs, right, laws about what the mandatory things are for a charter school. So one of the things is they're only required to have 50% of their teachers be state certified.
Okay.
So they can be more flexible on who the other 50% is. Mm-hmm. They generally...
That doesn't mean that... I'm sorry to interrupt you,
okay.
But that doesn't mean that the teacher isn't qualified to teach that.
Exactly.
So like if you're teaching wood shop and you've got a master carpenter, just because that person didn't spend 4 years in college to learn how to be a teacher doesn't mean that they're not a great carpenter.
Great example. Same goes for math teacher, though.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
You don't have to have a degree in education in order to teach math well.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So it could be anything. So that's exactly right. Thank you for the example.
So charter schools, so one of the differences, only 50% have to be certified.
Correct. And they can take a completely different approach to teaching and learning than public schools do. So there's a charter school in Keene called MC Squared, and I don't remember what the MC stands for. Making Communities, something like that.
Okay.
Making Community Charter School, maybe. They do around the year school, so it's 10 weeks on, 3 weeks off. All year long.
All year long?
All year long.
Including summer?
They don't get summer off, but
Wow.
they get 3 weeks off every 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Pretty decent. I believe it's 3. So, and each kid has to... they go through phases, and I don't know all of the nomenclature, but they go through phases, and they have to do a presentation to show that they've met all of the requirements to move on to another phase. And they do that to a committee of people, some of whom are from outside. I sat in one of these things a couple of weeks ago because I was so interested in this approach. And I mean, they have to get up and say what they learned, how they learned it. They have reflections. They just do the whole thing. And there's this long list of things, like a checklist that they have to go through. So they're guided and they're supported. They have mentors and so on. But it's very individualized, and they don't move out of the phase until they show that they have actually completed everything they need to, mastered. Well, let's say are proficient.
Sure.
In all the things that they need to.
Okay.
So charter schools can do that. And not all of them take that approach. Mm-hmm. And there are a number of charter schools in the area. There's Surrey Charter School. I don't know what their mission is, what their charter is. I mean, so the charter by the state, they're actually given a maximum number of students. Like they make a proposal, and they have to say how many kids they're going to have each year, so that number could grow. They might start with high school and then back out, add 8th grade, add 7th grade, add 6th grade. They might start from 1 to 5 and then add 6 and then 7th and 8th, sort of yearly, right? So this is all within a charter that the state approves. So they have a lot of leeway in what they can do.
Now, are there focuses like, this is a science-based charter school?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so ASD in Nashua, now I have to remember, Science and Design, Academy for Science and Design. They are a top-ranking school in the country, and this is our own New Hampshire school, and they are science and engineering. That's
Really?
what they focus on. There are some who take a classical curriculum, and that's a growing trend. This is one in Peterborough called Lionheart Charter School, and that's what they do. So it's I think they even have uniforms for the kids.
Wow.
And they use a curriculum out of Hillsdale College that just guides what they do. There's a new one on the Seacoast. I think it's called Seacoast Charter Academy, something like that. That does the same thing. So so they each can do any approach they want, which has to be approved by the state Board of Ed. So that's what I mean by when I say by the state. They get... Last year, 2 years ago, it was $7,200 per kid. I think it just went up to $9,000. But I have to tell you, the charter schools that try to act like regular schools need a lot more money to run. So they do fundraising, serious fundraising, to help their schools go on. But still, it does not come out of local taxes at all. That's just not part of how it works.
So looking quickly, it looks like there's 32 charter schools.
That sounds right.
In New Hampshire.
Yep.
There's one online, but then there's...
VLAX, that's right.
VLAX is charter school?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Virtual Learning Academy Charter School.
I didn't realize that's charter.
That's what CS stands for.
Okay. Because VLAX is an option for the high school kids now.
For any kid in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And they're K to 12 now. During COVID, they expanded out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So they are K to 12. Anybody can use VLAX.
That's cool.
And that is also sort of individualized. You go at your own pace. You have a limit to how far you can go.
My daughter's going to use that because Newport doesn't offer French, and she wants to take French class.
There you go.
So the school is like, you can do.
You can do
VLAX.
part-time at VLAX, but you can also do full-time at VLAX.
Oh, okay.
That is up to every individual.
Wow.
And for any charter school, you don't have to live in the town that the charter school is in. As long as they have open seats, they'll accept any kid who fits into their paradigm, right?
Yeah.
So even though there's a school in Keene, there's a school in Surrey, if you live in Claremont or Newport and you want to drive your kid there, you don't get transportation for free, and they fit in, they can go there.
So there's one in Lebanon, the Ledyard Charter School.
Ledyard, that's right. That's an alternative type high school, and it's also individualized. And what they do, and I think they do this in the Keene one too, in MC Squared, that they help you get jobs, basically, maybe non-paid, and I'm just losing the word, internships.
Like internship?
Yeah, with real places that to see what you're interested in doing, and they start that in MC Squared at the ninth grade level, and they're also only high school.
Okay.
They're going out to 8th grade starting next year.
I'm going to try to find the Keene one. There's Lionheart Classical Academy down in Keene also. Looks like there's one.
That's in Peterborough, isn't it?
It says Keene on this, but
okay,
maybe
there's another.
I have no idea. Well, Peterborough's not that far from Keene.
Sure, from up here, that's what it seems like.
Exactly, everybody's close.
Yeah.
But anyway, there are different options, and this is something that you're really a stalwart for is talking about the options. And this, like you're saying, this doesn't cost local taxpayers anything.
Right.
It's part of the Education Trust Fund. Are there any other options for parents besides charter schools and homeschooling?
Sure. I mean, there are private schools and there are scholarships you can get to help pay for these things too, right? Mm-hmm. So there's so the Children's Scholarship Fund has 2 scholarships you can get. One is probably what most people have heard of, although I've been finding that most people haven't heard of them, the Education Freedom Accounts. Mm-hmm. And the other one is called it's a tax credit education scholarships, ETC, Education Tax Credit Scholarship.
Yes,
that's what it's called. For that one, you need to earn less than, I think it's 300% of the federal poverty level to qualify for it.
Okay.
That's like the only qualification you have. EFA's Education Freedom Accounts, they were at 350% last year, but they've gone to universal this year. So anybody qualifies as long as you're a New Hampshire resident and you're of school age. But what they did was when they made it universal, they set a cap to only 10,000 kids. Only there were 5,200 last year.
Yeah,
they made the cap 10,000. They hit that number in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so 10,000 people applied and got their scholarships. But what they are also doing is they have a few categories of people. So the income level, if you're below, I don't remember if it's 300 or 350% of the federal poverty level, which, by the way, 350 last year, the numbers have changed a little, but last year that meant a family of 4 earns less than $109,000 a year. Okay. Right? So you're not, I wouldn't exactly call you poor even at that level, right? So still a lot of people qualified. But so if you are a low income or if you have a special needs kid or English as a second language, and maybe even, I'm pretty sure, like if your kid is in 3rd grade and reading below 3rd grade reading level, you can still qualify to get an EFA, even though they hit the 10,000 cap. Yeah. You wouldn't. And if you're any of those families listening to this now, apply now because the next round will start in November. Mm-hmm. So the sooner you get it in, the sooner they can determine whether you qualify or not. And that will continue throughout the year. You can, if you're in any of those groups, you can still get it this year. And then next year, because they hit that cap will increase by 25%. So will no longer be 10,000. It'll be, I think, 12,500 next year. And if they hit the cap again, it'll go up 25% again. So that's how they're...
So those are for private school payments, correct?
Private school, but you can also use it for homeschooling.
For homeschooling, okay.
Yes.
So now, I'm assuming one of the questions you might get when it comes to these different options is extracurricular activities and what can my kid actually do. So if I live in a town that has a public high school, public grade school, all that stuff, but I want to do VLAX or I want to send to a charter school or I want to homeschool, can my kid still participate in whatever sport?
Sure. So the answer is if you live in the district and you are an independent homeschooler or go to a private school or charter school, then you can take classes at your local district school, or let's say they offer chemistry or whatever, mm-hmm. your kid can take a class there, or sports, either curricular or co-curricular, extracurricular activities. Okay. They can do that. But if you take an EFA, the tax dollars are already being used by the family, so they would have to pay to be able to take classes or be in sports in their district school. Okay. So just to know that distinction.
Yeah. Okay. So there are options, but it's kind of gray zone. Like this isn't a yes or no. This is how it always works.
I mean, this is how it works now.
Yeah, right. It could change in 2 weeks down at the state.
It can, yeah.
And we're talking to Jody Underwood with EdUp, which is a nonprofit organization, different options for educating your child. And the spark wasn't the Claremont situation. I mean, you were on last year doing the same thing.
Yes.
But are you getting a lot of calls from people from Claremont?
I can't say we're getting calls, but we're reaching out to them and seeing that they are interested in their options. We went to their back to school fair just a couple of days after they announced their $5 million deficit.
Yes.
And we spoke to dozens of families who were not aware and I mean, many of them used the word excited to learn that they could send their kids to charter school and not have to pay tuition. They didn't know. I mean, where are they getting their information from? The public school isn't giving them information about what the competitors are doing, right? And what their options are. And, maybe the school board should be, because their mission is really to make sure the kids in their district are getting educated, not to make sure that their building stays standing. Like, that's not the school board's job, What
is the school board's job? Why do you say that? It's so the school board's job is not to make sure that the school is well maintained and funded?
Their job is to make sure the administration is doing a good job and not overspending, spending carefully and so on, and to make sure that the kids are getting educated. But they do that through the administration, right? It's the administration's job to make sure the kids are getting educated.
Right.
But it is not their job to make sure the school stays open, right? Let's say they just have a failing school. The school board might decide it's not worth keeping the school open. It's not a jobs program, the school, right? The idea is if the kids aren't getting educated, then they should be figuring out other options to educate the kids. They're supposed to be supplying the opportunity for an adequate education. This is according to the Claremont decision, the ironic name of the Claremont, Supreme Court decision back in the 90s. And if they're not getting a good education in their school, then how do you determine that they're giving them an opportunity for that, And I think it's kind of the school board's job. They're supposed to approve curricula that are being used. They're supposed to put in place like yearly assessments for teachers to make sure that they're doing a good job, as well as for the superintendent. So basically those three levels of things is what their responsibilities are. But a lot of people get elected to school board and they think that their job is to be part of the administration, to work with the administration. No, their job is to oversee the administration. And there are two different ways of looking at things. As I understand it, the New Hampshire School Boards Association basically tells them that they should rubber stamp everything the superintendent tells them because he's the expert. And it's like, but that gets in the way of them overseeing. Rubber stamping doesn't do that. And maybe that's exactly how Claremont got into the problem it's in. They didn't know that they had to do audits every year because nobody's telling them. I'm sorry, if the School Boards Association was really doing their job, they'd be telling them, wait, how come you didn't get an audit this year? That's your job to make sure you get these things done. Yeah. And they obviously didn't do that. So I'm also part of an organization called the School District Governance Association. And what we do, we've been around since 2017. We help school board members understand what their actual responsibilities are. We offer webinars. Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you.
We offer webinars. We have model policies that you can use that are just very different from what you see out there now. So sdganh.org is where you can find all of that stuff online. But that's a whole nother thing, though, right?
Absolutely.
But can we talk about the Claremont Fair?
Absolutely.
I don't know where we are on time here.
Way over. It's fine. It's totally cool. No worries.
Cool. No, I'm having fun. So this is great. So we are doing this fair in Claremont, EdUp Fair. And EdUp, by the way, is EDOPT, as in Education Options, but with the T there, .org. And you can see right, I'll do this little pitch now. So on our website, we've upgraded it since last year. We have a map that shows all the providers we know about, including everything, including public schools, private, religious, charter, homeschool activities, support groups. We even have some preschool because people are interested in that, although that is not our focus. But we're starting to support that. We show you which providers that we have take EFAs, so they have to be approved by the state, by the way. And you can get them approved by the state. I don't think it's difficult, but at least you can see where they are. So you can look at our website to see that. And then we do these face-to-face school choice fairs around the state. We've done 12 to date over the last year. We have 3 upcoming. One is in Claremont on October 6th. That's next Monday. From 5 to 7 p.m. And it'll be at the Claremont Community Center at 152 South Street in Claremont, which is right across from the middle school there. We have another one coming up in Candia on October 27th and one in Keene on November 3rd. And if you're interested in getting announcements about our fairs, you can subscribe to us. So just go on to edupt.org and there's subscribe things on each page. And we send out weekly, not very long newsletters, and it always has what fairs are coming up. At the Claremont Fair, we have a range of options showing up. I'm actually really excited. We have Upper Valley Homeschooler Table. We have the Surrey Village Charter School. We have Claremont Christian Academy, Estabrook Christian School, River Valley Technical Center, 2 River Valley Technical Centers. One's actually in Vermont, and they asked us if they could come, and we're like, sure. Yeah. I mean, if you can, I didn't even know if you can actually go to school across the state lines, but I should know something like that. I will learn it at the fair. I'll go talk to them. Making Community Connections Charter School. That's the MC Squared that I talked about. So they're in Keene, and they're coming up. Camp Constitution will be there. So this is an activity you can do, and it's for adults and kids, but they've come to as many of our fairs as they can. They really like what we're doing to try to reach families with school-age kids. So they're all about that. We have River Valley Community College because there's also dual enrollment, right? Oh, yeah. So the idea is...
That's fantastic, by the way.
It is. People love that.
Yeah.
And most people know about it. So I find that great. But, they know about that, but they don't know about Learn Everywhere, which is another program that the state runs. And basically that one allows you to, let's say you take martial arts, you can get school credit for taking martial arts, but you're paying for your class. It's something you already do. So it's Learn Everywhere. You're learning out there. Why can't you get credit in school for these things? So you can do that. That's been around a few years now. And we will have a table with somebody from the New Hampshire Department of Ed and the alternative pathways you can take. And they will be able to give you information about Learn Everywhere as well as other things. We have the New England School of the Arts. We also have a representative from the Children's Scholarship Fund to talk about the scholarships they have. So all of these people will be there. We will also have an EdOpt table. So let's say there's an option you're interested in that isn't at the fair. We can help you with your particular goals and your issues and help you figure out where you should go and maybe even who you should talk to at the fair if you hadn't thought about it before. So that's what we have going on now. We might have more people show up too. There's a couple of outstanding people that have told me maybe, and they'll let me know soon. Sure. So, this should be a rich set of tables there. Yeah. So I'm really excited about it. Hopefully we get the people there. That's the important part, is getting families there. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to come on the show. And this is not only open to Claremont residents. This is to anybody in the region because the schools are in the region. That's the only reason. So, if you live in Newport, come on out. Let's come see what your options are, But we're specifically focusing on Claremont because of the situation they're in now.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. You can live in Newport, Sunapee, Goshen, Leominster, Washington, Charlestown, whatever, but this event is still happening next Monday, the 6th of October at the Claremont Community Center. You said, 5 o'clock?
Yep, from 5 to 7.
And walk in, you'll have one of the rooms, I'm assuming, on the left-hand side.
You might know that better than me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, the right-hand side's a pool, so...
I think that's right.
Okay.
I think it is on the left.
So you'll be in there. I just ran some quick numbers and staggered to find out there's approximately 292 private schools in New Hampshire, which services 31,812 students approximately from K to 12. That's a lot of kids. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that. I know there's some St. Paul's school. It's a big school. You're getting the rich kids. Yeah. That are being sent, the Hearsts and the Rockefellers and everybody that's going there. But still, that still counts.
It does. Oh, yeah. It all adds to it. But then you have your small Christian schools and private schools like Newport Montessori.
Right.
Yeah, and they're full up. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. They declined to come because they're full up for the next 2 years.
Sure.
So they don't have any seats open. So what's the point? Yeah. So that's too bad. They came to our fair last year.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. And maybe in the future they'll come again.
Yeah.
And, interestingly, I know this number nationally rather than in New Hampshire, but the number of homeschoolers is about the same as the number of kids who go to private schools now.
Wow.
And that number is still growing. So I think COVID woke a lot of people up about what was going on in public schools. Even if it was just to say that my kid doesn't fit there, I mean, the schools tried to do whatever they could do during that period. Obviously, that nobody planned for that, But still, some people just said, this isn't right.
Yeah.
And figured out options.
Looking through the list, some of these I totally forget are private schools, like Bishop Brady, which is a Catholic school. I forget about it because we play them in sports. Bishop Girton, St. Thomas. Those are.
Jesse Remington, is that on your list too? They're in, I want to say Concord, maybe Candia. They're also religious.
Okay.
Their name doesn't tell you that, but they are religious.
Really?
School.
Okay.
Yep. They're organizing the Candia.
This didn't list every single one. But no, it's interesting. Holderness School.
I've heard of it.
Okay. I didn't realize that's a private school. But no, there's a lot of different options out there. And that's really the main thing that you're not sitting here publicly saying that public school is bad.
I'm not. If it fits you, stay,
Right.
Yeah.
If you're happy with education, the quality of education, cultural environment, things of that nature, then stay there. But what I'm getting from you is you're saying if you're not happy here, there are other options that you may not know about.
So many. Yes, exactly. And you can do a lot of these in a hybrid fashion also. You don't have to strictly do one thing. Homeschooling allows you to do that because you can take part-time classes, You can, just like with VLAX, you can probably arrange that in a lot of places. It's just a matter of asking.
Now, do you get a fair amount of pushback from those that are diehard public school people?
Not a lot.
Okay.
You would think, right? So we had a fair in Wolfboro in May, and there was a protest outside.
Really?
That somebody, so Glenn Cordelli, he's a state rep and chair of the House Education Policy Committee. He's the one who organized that fair. And so he had a lot of political opponents, and one of them organized this protest, and they're like, save our public schools. That's what their signs are saying. But we invite the public schools to our fair. And in fact, the Wolfboro School District was represented in that fair right inside the building.
Okay.
And they had originally, they were going to send a union representative, which is an interesting choice. But in the end, the superintendent and a high school teacher came, and they had a fantastic time. We had over 40 families show up, 100 people, somebody counted. That included kids, pairs of adults, and so on. Mm-hmm. And it was just a buzzing the whole time. And again, the public school had a very good experience there. So we're not putting down public schools.
Now, what happens to your public school if you lose, let's say, 10, 15, 20% of your students to these other options? What is the reality to your local public school? Great
question. So if you look at the reality over the last 20 years in New Hampshire, they've already lost that number of students. And the only thing that's happened is their budgets have gone up. So I don't see it changing anytime soon.
But why do the budgets go up? I know that doesn't each school get a portion of money from the state for every student that's there?
Yes.
So now, is that a loss of revenue from the state?
Yes.
So
that means your local property taxes go up to pay for the increase in your budget.
So if you lose students to your public school, your taxes are going up.
Correct. That's right.
Okay, so that's the reality.
That's the reality. But really, if you're losing that many students, shouldn't you be paring down what you're doing? Shouldn't you be reducing your costs if you're losing that many students?
Right, so
why are no public schools reducing their costs?
What does that look like? Getting rid of classes and options?
So
Is that like why Newport doesn't have French anymore?
maybe
Okay.
they didn't have a demand for French.
Yeah.
Who knows? You got to ask them, right? But what they're doing in Claremont is interesting, and the school board gets credit for this, in my opinion. They actually stopped all non-mandatory classes, not just classes, but things like, sports. So they pulled the plug on them just so they could reduce their budget. Honestly, why are tax dollars paying for things that aren't mandatory? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. That's one.
Because it always has happened.
Well, not always. Originally, they were just teaching reading and math.
Right, but in
our
recent history, so my always is always. Your always is always.
Okay.
Your grandparents always is their always. So
that's fair. Except you can't say we, because if you go back long enough, it wasn't like that. But I understand your point.
Sure.
Everybody's used to it, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Right. The days of the one-room schoolhouse are gone.
Well, yeah, except like in Croydon, we're using a one-room schoolhouse. And
for how many kids? But you're not educating first to senior in high school in that one-room schoolhouse.
Correct.
What I mean is like the Little Red Schoolhouse here in Newport, and then the one out in Guild, and so on and so forth. Like those days are gone, and that got consolidated with the baby boom.
Yes, sadly.
So that baby boom, there's a massive change during the baby boomers that I feel like our current education buildings were formed around them.
That's an interesting way to look at it. I didn't know when that first started. Right. So they wanted to consolidate, like SAUs probably formed around then.
Probably.
Because there was just too much going on and they wanted an administrative unit and so on.
Because if you look at a lot of the buildings in our area for the schools, a lot of them were built in the 50s and 60s that accommodated the baby boom. From Newport High School to Goshen-Lemster School, the Sunapee High School, there was a bunch in Claremont. Those are all the baby boom kids, because they thought at that time, wow, our population's growing.
And it was.
And they never thought we'd see the bell curve down.
Exactly. And yet here we are, and nobody is really addressing it. And that's really an issue. Look, you're probably as aware as I am that our property taxes are going up enormously.
Right.
How long can that last?
Right.
Until half the town loses their house? Right? Their houses. People are starting to get up in arms now. They're not standing out there protesting yet. That's going to come soon, though, because it can't be sustained. It's just, and the schools are not acting responsibly because why? Because they're spending other people's money. They don't have to. They don't have to raise the money that they're spending. They just have to say, I want this money. And then the town has to vote for it. Or in many towns, I think Newport's one of them, and Claremont, I'm pretty sure, SB2 towns, what are called SB2. And that means you get two choices, a default budget from last year or this year.
Right.
That's not, the budget's not going down that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's up for people to go to the deliberative session. Yeah,
but you only get two choices. You can't even change what the amount is.
Well, you can amend it at a deliberative session.
But you can't go, can you go below what the default budget is?
Can't you amend it down? But then the default is the default still.
Yeah, so if you don't vote for the current, maybe.
Right, so you could amend to $1 for everything. That way, because you still have to have that line item.
The line item, right.
So you could amend down to $1.
Okay, so now you have the public doing it instead of the administration taking responsibility. Right, the salaries for the administrators have gone up enormously in the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a number of them just not do responsible jobs. It's just, oh my goodness. When I was on the school board, I was on the board for 12 years, over 12 years. And I swear I worked with at least 10 superintendents during that period. The first part was with Newport, when we were sharing a superintendent. It was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Every year or two, we get a new one, and the cost just kept going up and up and up, and they just move around. All these retired superintendents, they're getting their pensions, and they're getting paid over $100,000 and way over in some cases now.
I would love to see, and I've been advocating this for a long time, and I don't think it will happen, but get rid of the SAUs and have a countywide SAU.
There's a bill in this year. Well, there's a bill in this year to study it.
Yeah.
And they will make recommendations.
Yeah, we're just too consolidated, and it's a lot of wasted money, in my opinion.
Agreed.
But it works well for Sullivan County. I think you get the Rockingham counties and Stratford counties that might be a little bit more wonky because there's so many more bigger players.
Well, but they would do Manchester and Nashua separately.
Yeah,
They have to
by
how the bill
statute
was.
because those are strong mayors, not weak mayors.
Okay, I don't know what that means.
So city government, you have a strong mayor or a weak mayor, and so a strong mayor is Claremont has a weak mayor. Nashua and Manchester are the only two that have strong mayors. So they oversee the.
What's the distinction, though?
Yeah, it's overseeing the schools and stuff. So like the Manchester mayor oversees the school district by statute.
Okay. But the Claremont doesn't.
Claremont doesn't.
Okay,
so Claremont's mayor is what's
just municipal.
Right, and is really just the head of the city council. So administers the meeting. So like you got Berlin, Franklin, Claremont that are cities with weak mayors.
Okay. And Nashua and Manchester.
Nashua and Manchester are strong mayors. Those are the only two that have strong mayor distinctions.
Interesting to know.
Yeah. So that would explain why those two wouldn't be subject to this because they have by statute different governmental bodies.
Sure.
Claremont tried becoming a strong mayor city 6 years ago, I think, and it failed.
But you know what did pass last year was open enrollment within a district. So that means in Claremont, you can go to any elementary school you want. Now they're down to 2.
Yes.
Or they will be soon.
Yes.
But still, you could choose between the 2. But in Manchester, you can choose your high school.
Okay.
And Nashua, whatever. I don't know what their distribution is, but I know they have multiple schools. So, and they're still trying to get open enrollment across the state. So you can go to any public school you want. I think that might be a big hairball money-wise because you got to pay the tuition to go to those schools. So that could be weird. That could be expensive.
So would that mean that there wouldn't be a cap of money? So like if Hanover costs $32,000 and you want to send your kids to Hanover, you have to pay the $32,000.
That's what it's. Oh no, it's going to be 80% of their like average cost per student over the last 3 or 5 years, something to that effect. So it's 80% of that is what that's the cap. They could take less.
And what about the busing, mandatory busing?
Well, that is only
that's till K. It's K to 8.
8th grade.
1 to 8.
Yeah, that's right. So I don't know.
Okay.
These are questions. These are open questions.
And then the actual cost of educating a child is not an easy formula to figure out either.
Oh no, I mean,
like, do we consider a school nurse? Do we consider heating bill? Do we consider all that?
Right. I mean, if that's what it takes to operate the district, then that's part of the cost, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, but the per student cost is such a funny one because that's just a calculation. You lose kids, your cost per student goes up, but nothing changes in the school.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And people, you know, it's funny, you know, you also talked about what if a lot of kids leave the school. Districts have people coming in and out all year long, you know, so they're used to having small differences every year in either direction. So I don't think there's going to be a mass exodus from school. It'll be slow and they'll feel like they can absorb it and keep the costs going up. I can't wait to see the district that has a lower budget one year than they had the last year that they present to the public, you know. It just has never happened, ever. I don't know. I don't understand why, because if you look at the numbers and how they've gone down over the last 20, 30 years, how could they just keep the numbers at the same and higher rates?
Right.
You know?
I think whoever at the state level can never figure out the school funding for truly adequate and functional education would become a hero. But the way it's been explained to me is that it's not a Republican versus Democrat issue. In some instances, it's a big town, small town, rich town, poor town. So that you can get, Sullivan County only has 13 delegates. It doesn't, based on our population, which is the same as Derry. So when you've got as many in this entire county battling one town of Derry, it's you can't win. So it's hard
to do it at the state level,
yes.
you mean?
So it's really hard to advocate for the smaller population areas, the rural communities of Coos County and Sullivan County versus the Rockingham, Stratford, Hillsborough counties, Merrimack County.
Sure. From when I get what you're saying, but on the other hand, if you were to start from scratch today, in today's day and age, to provide the opportunity for an adequate education, you got to give somebody an internet connection, a computer, and you're off and running. You can get a lot of stuff online for free, So it would be, and even if the state paid for that internet connection and computer, now you might say, well, not all kids can learn that way. And it's like, maybe true.
Right.
But right now they're doing a one size fits all. So why not do this one size fits all and cut the cost of everything and have parents just responsible for their kids' education? Then they would start forming these micro schools or learning pods or learning centers or whatever you want to call them. Yeah. And their kids would do fine.
I get that. I don't love that option at all because I worry about screen time, about
I get that.
Things of that nature. Because, I mean, your kids shouldn't be on a device their entire day.
Right. But what if that day is only 2 hours long?
Then there's no more screen time the rest of the day.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you might give them some fun time if this is just work time.
I mean, based on, I don't know, we battle screen time in our house.
Sure.
Just,
all families do.
Put your phone down.
Yeah.
Get off your phone.
You bet.
You've watched enough TV.
I have the problem with myself, keeping myself off my phone.
I know, right? Yes. But it's a different world out there. And if parents are interested in learning different options for educating their child, the fair is coming up next Monday, so a week from last night, so this coming Monday technically, in Claremont at the Community Center, 5 o'clock until 7. A lot of different options out there. The website again is edopt.org. Okay, because you are a nonprofit, 501c3.
Yep.
And
so feel free to donate to us, too, to help us keep our mission going.
Absolutely. Jody, I appreciate it. Anything else to get on?
No, I think that's good. Yeah, and subscribe to get notifications. Again, just go to the website, and you'll hear about all of our fairs and other interesting things related to education.
Super. Well, thank you for coming in, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Jody Underwood from Education Options, which is edopt.org.
Black beans, Roman beans, Peruvian beans. You are all about those Goya beans, huh?
Let's just say our motto at home is, beans again.
Red beans, pinto beans.
Perfect for some chili.
White beans.
Those in a soup.
Cannellini beans.
Great on salads.
And garbanzo beans.
With these, I make an epic hummus.
Everything sounds really good.
With so many options, why not Goya beans again and again and again? Find them in the Goya section of your local grocery store. If it's Goya, it has to be good.
Looking for an exceptional driving experience? Find it behind the wheel of a Mercedes-Benz SUV. Experience the power, precision, and intelligence of an iconic Mercedes-Benz SUV at your local Mercedes-Benz dealer today.